The first few hours and days after the death of a loved one tend to be a blur. And as if the grieving process isn't already difficult enough, if you've been named executor, then you have a whole bunch of new responsibilities that have been thrust upon you, and you're probably wondering where to get started. I'm Jackie Bedard, founder of Carolina Family Estate Planning, and today I'm going to share with you the first things you should take care of when a loved one's passed away. Our office regularly receives panicked phone calls from callers who are overwhelmed with figuring out what to do right after their loved one has died. And usually the first thing we tell them is, unless there's a true legal emergency, which I'll come back to in just a moment, there's usually nothing that's so urgent with the estate administration process that you can't pause, take a deep breath, and take a week or two with your loved ones to just honor the passing of your loved one and take care of the family's immediate needs. Now, I mentioned legal emergencies, so let's talk about what those might be, because if you do have a legal emergency, you might need to seek out help a little bit sooner. A legal emergency might be things like the decedent had a minor child and there's no surviving parent or guardian to take care of that child, or maybe the decedent owned a business and we're concerned about the operations of that business being able to continue. Maybe there's already a family dispute brewing and you want to get guidance sooner rather than later. Or possibly there might be some other legal action brewing, whether it's a wrongful death claim or medical malpractice or something like that. But assuming that there isn't a legal emergency brewing, let's talk about the first steps that you should take. The first thing that you'll want to take care of is your loved one's final arrangements. But before you call the funeral home or crematory society, make sure that you go through your loved one's important records and estate planning documents, because they may have provided you some guidance. For example, a lot of our clients put together memorial instructions that give some insight into what their wishes are, or they may have done some sort of prepaid funeral arrangements or pre-purchase burial plots. So you want to make sure that you have that information before you start making arrangements. The next thing that we recommend you do is secure the home and any valuable property. One of your responsibilities as executor will be to safeguard the assets of the estate. And you might be surprised, you don't know who your loved one might have shared keys to the home with. And we've heard and encountered all sorts of horror stories over the years where maybe the family is off at the funeral or memorial service and somebody slips out the back door and goes back to the house and starts cleaning it out. We've even had estates where they've gone in and started removing things like the crystal chandeliers and replacing them with $10 light fixtures from the hardware store. So one of the things that we recommend you do is consider changing the locks to the home. If there's any vehicles, try to store them in the garage if you can. And if there's any other valuable assets like jewelry or cash or other valuables, try to secure those in a safe if you're able to. One of the other things that you want to be careful of is if you were serving as the decedent's power of attorney before they passed away, you need to know that that power of attorney document expires immediately upon death, and you're no longer authorized to continue handling financial transactions. And even if you've been appointed or named as executor in the decedent's will, you're technically not legally authorized to handle any assets of the estate or any financial transactions until the court formally recognizes you. So one of the mistakes we see people make sometimes is that they try to rush out and start handling the finances or bank accounts, and it's too soon, and it actually can create problems for us down the road when we have to start preparing the court filings and the different accountings, and then go back to the court and say, well, oops, we already did these things that we weren't supposed to do yet, and we have to go back and fix it. Along the same lines, one of the other mistakes we often see executors make is distributing assets too early. Now, you might start getting pressured from other family members or beneficiaries, so we do recommend starting to set expectations with them that this is often a process that takes months, not days or weeks. And one of the things you need to understand about your role as executor is that you're personally liable for the properly handling of the estate. So what that means is if you make a mistake along the way or you distribute assets too early, you could be on the hook to fix that out of your own pocket. And so one of the most common mistakes we see is that executors distribute assets too early, but one of their other responsibilities is to take care of all the legitimate debts and taxes and obligations of the estate. And so you don't want to find yourself in a situation where you've distributed the assets, but now you find that there are some debts that still need to be paid. If your loved one has named you as executor, it's a huge honor, but also a huge responsibility. So one of the tools we've put together to help you is a free guide that you can download on understanding the estate administration process. Within this guide, we talk about the 8 things to do right away after a loved one's died. We give you an overview of the estate administration process and what to expect. And we answer frequently asked questions like, what should you do if there isn't a will, or how to pay for the funeral arrangements. So as we already covered, serving as executor is a big responsibility with personal liability. So make sure you download this report and you understand what your responsibilities are.